Sean Weatherby.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants. It's time for Health Futures with Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and it is Friday, January 6th, the first Friday of 2017. It's hard to believe that we're already in 2017. If this is the first time you're tuning into our show is Health Futures, taking stock in you. And the purpose behind our show is really to present ways for our older adult population to live a healthier, happier life. And I'm able to do this by bringing extraordinary guests here to the show. We are now in our fourth year. It's hard to believe that I've been coming to you now for 3 complete years, getting ready to start our fourth, and delivering meaningful content that not just the people that are aging, but their older adult children can take with them to really share with their loved ones in terms of how to do just that. And I want to just take a moment and pause and really recognize an individual that was a guest on my show back in April of 2015. He passed away this past Sunday. His name was Dr. Avery Weissman. And Dr. Avery Weissman was an extraordinary, not only client of mine, but an extraordinary individual. This is a gentleman that lived to 103. And not only did he live to 103, but he just did some extraordinary things here in our community. And I say our community, in our country, in our world. He was a professor at Harvard Medical School for 35 years. He was head of psychiatry for Mass General for 40 years. And while he was a very modest person, he is responsible for bringing hospice to our country back in 1970 or 1971. And how did he do that? He did that because he had written books on a subject matter called thanology. Thanology is a very it's a very different word that not many people know what it means. I had to look it up, and it's the study of death. And this woman by the name of Dame Cicely Saunders from Great Britain had read some of his pieces, and she came over in 1970. It could have been 1971, one of those, 70 or 71, to meet with Dr. Avery Weissman to talk to him about this concept called hospice, which was new to our country. And Dr. Weissman said, look, I'm familiar with it, but that's not something that I want to participate in, but I want you to go visit a colleague of mine down at Yale University by the name of Florence Wald. And Florence Wald and Dame Cicely Saunders created the very first hospice. I believe that was in 1972 at Yale University. A great man. I had a great honor to attend not only his funeral, but his nephew, Dr. Michael Dean, and Carol Dean, his niece, gave me the honor of being a pallbearer at his funeral. And really was more of a celebration of life. And I want to just play a little clip for you from his interview with me back in April 2015.
Clarity and the problem you're trying to cope with is a big thing. And making a decision that you can live with, helping you to become the person you could be responsible for. These are impossible goals in a way, but something worth aiming at. And living life to the fullest, I'm afraid, speaking for myself, is something that other people maybe could do. I never have known what that would mean. You know, you live with what you have.
You live with what you have. And, there was another thing that he'd said in this interview, and I closed the interview by asking him, what is the secret to getting to 102 years old? This is back, a year and a half ago. He wasn't quite 102. And his response to me was, I'm not afraid to die. And he says, I think too many people in this world are fixated on death and dying. He says, I choose to live, and I could not live if I didn't have the assistance of your company and another company that he was using and their caregivers to enable me to live out my life as independent as I'd like to be. So what a great honor, a great loss, a great celebration of life. Dr. Avery Weissman, may you rest in peace. So I want to take that same tone and that same message that Dr. Weissman shared on our show back in April 2015 and kind of pivot now and introduce you to our guest today. As I shared with you, our guests are the ones that make the show, and they bring meaningful content to our listening audience. And today is no different. Our guest today is a gentleman by the name of Howard Falco, and he has a company that is 8 Wisdom and Total Mind Sports. He is a author, spiritual teacher, life coach, peak performance coach. And I will share with you why it makes so much sense for you to be here in the studio with me, Howard, today. And that is his purpose for being is to help people discover ways to be happy and enrich their lives so they can live to the fullest. Kind of like what Dr. Weissman said. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the show, Howard.
Thank you very much. That was a beautiful opening that you had, and I'm honored to be here. So
well, I'm honored to have you here on the show, and I would love for you to, you and I have just met recently through a mutual friend, but I'd love for you to share with our listening audience how you came about this space that you're in, because you're helping so many people today, and just spending time with you, you can see that you are in a really great place and at a great point in your life.
Well, thank you. So the short version is I started off in the financial business, actually. Spent 15 years in the investment business and have a wife, 2 kids, great family, got my education at Arizona State, came out from Chicago when I was young, wanted to be out west. But I was always very curious about the nature of life, very curious about wanting to know the bigger answers to some of the bigger existential questions. And that questioning intensified in my mid-30s to the point where I didn't know how I was truly going to go on with life if I didn't have some of these bigger answers to these questions, because I was so curious and I wasn't feeling satiated in my life. Even though I was happy with the things I had, I wasn't satiated. So I asked a bunch of very deep, profound questions in one big moment of yearning, so to speak, to whatever your idea of the universe is, to life, to whatever your idea of God is. But I just asked these questions, and then over the course of the following 6-month period, I started to experience the answers to these questions through a general walk of my life, through casual conversations with friends, to books, to bumper stickers, movie lines. It was coming from everywhere. And it created such a profound impact on me, and it created a moment about 6 months after this questioning where I had this intense experience of, for lack of a better word, an expansion of awareness, where I saw the puzzle from a much bigger perspective. And that perspective allowed me to see how all the pieces fit together in the journey called life. And I was so humbled by this incredible experience that I knew from that moment on, after taking some time to absorb it, that it would be my greatest honor to share this work for the rest of my life. And so that's when I began to write the material in my first book, I Am. And about a year later, I had a manuscript and it was published. And from then on, I've been teaching, speaking, and helping individuals from every area and situation in life. And eventually it went into sports, to athletes who were looking to find out how to expand on the idea of who they were so they could improve their results. And it's been really a fascinating journey. So that's the short version.
Well, it is a short version, but I mean, I love how you position it. I mean, it's a gift that you were given to be able to look at your own life from 30,000 feet and be able to give that same perspective to others. And, you know, I know we're coming up on a break, and I want to talk to you a little bit more in depth in terms of the stuff that you do. And you've got a couple books that you've written, one called I Am, and the other one is Time in a Bottle. And, you know, one of the things that I really enjoyed in our initial conversation is the fact that, we live at different points in our life, and it's embracing where you are presently versus not long for the days where you used to be. And I want to kind of build on that when we come back.
Sounds great.
Got a little Jerry Rafferty taking us out. Thank you, James, and thank you for putting that clip on from Dr. Avery Weissman. You're listening to Health Futures Taking Stock in You. My guest today is Howard Falco. We are up against a break. We'll be right back.
If you've ever thought about investing in real estate, but you haven't because you just aren't interested in the typical hassles and headaches of real estate, then don't touch that dial. For over a decade, Investment Property Experts has been helping investors take advantage of the growing Metro Phoenix real estate market through a unique offering of turnkey real estate investment services. Investment Property Experts eliminates the hassles and headaches by providing a full inventory of single-family homes that are fully renovated and occupied with tenants. IPX manages the property for you during the time you own it, and when the time comes, they can help you get it back on the market and facilitate the sale, all at no additional cost to you. And if you'd rather not purchase and own investment properties, Investment Property Experts offers a 9% return through deed of trust investment programs. Real estate market conditions in Phoenix have never been better. And with Investment Property Experts on your side, you'll be able to diversify into profitable real estate investments right from day one. Investment Property Experts, your true one-stop shop for real estate investing success. Get started by visiting azipx.com.
Saturday means as much as someday. Just ask the kids. So when you promise a weekend of camping they'll have. At Alaris, we promise to help you prepare for your future without sacrificing your present. Because we believe planning for tomorrow shouldn't get in the way of planning for tomorrow. See how Alaris does banking, mortgage, retirement, and wealth management differently at Alaris.com. Or stop by and talk with us today.
Where will you be when the dust settles?
How do you feel, sir?
Dust storms are a year-round threat in Arizona. If you get caught in a dust storm, pull completely off the roadway. Turn your lights off, set your parking brake, keep your seatbelt on, and wait it out. It won't be long. Where will you be when the dust settles? That's up to you. Do the smart thing, do the safe thing. Pull aside, stay alive. Visit az511.gov for road conditions before leaving your house. Sponsored by ADOT in partnership with the Arizona Broadcasters Association and this station.
Everyone craves the comfort of a good night's sleep. That's why Certa Perfect Sleeper Mattress helps solve 5 common sleep problems. You'll be so comfortable, you'll never count sheep again.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and if you're just tuning in, we're just starting our second segment. My guest today is Howard Falco, and he's the author of 2 amazing books, one called I Am, the other one is Time in a Bottle. And if you missed our first segment, it was packed with a lot of good stuff. One was a tribute to my client and dear friend, Dr. Avery Weissman, and we began our interview here today with Howard Falco. You can catch this up on our website at cypresshomecare.com. Click on the radio button at the top or midway down on the home page, and you can catch about 150 other episodes that we've been bringing to you for the last 3 years. You know, I want to share with our listening audience, and, you know, I got a chance to share with Howard on the break. Dr. Weissman is somebody that really had a profound effect on me, and I think we are all products of our experiences, and I learned so much from the clients that we get to serve at Cypress HomeCare Solutions. I've served developers. I've served, veterans. I've served, doctors. So many amazing people. They're like a good book. They're a great read. And, I had Dr. Weissman, as I shared on the first episode or first segment. I had him here on the show in April of 2015. And after the interview, I'd shared this episode with the family members, and they had asked the geriatric care manager, her name was Mary, if she could help chronologize Dr. Weissman's life, and asked if I could interview him, videotape and interview him. And I don't know how many of our listening audience have read the book by Mitch Albom called Tuesdays with Maury, but I got a chance to spend my Fridays with Avery. That's what I referred to it. I spent 6 Fridays with him, and we would talk for anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours and talk about his life. And I've learned so much about an extraordinary man and the life he lived. And I wanted to share this one point that he shared with me, and it's really hard to put your arms around. And I'm going to share this with you, Howard. You didn't hear this from me before. He can go back in his mind, or he could go back in his mind and remember attending a Veterans Day parade when he was a child, and actually Civil War veterans were walking in that parade.
Wow.
Isn't that extraordinary?
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is absolutely extraordinary. So I want to pivot back over to talking about you, Howard. And we were talking about, at the break, we were talking how, embracing where you are in life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, for a lot of people, that's one of the biggest challenges that we deal with. We long for what we were, not embracing where we are.
Right. And as I say in the work and in the talks that I do, what that does is it keeps you stuck in time, because life happens in the present moment. And so the more resistant that you are to what's happening in the present moment, the less you get to live a full life, the less you get to enrich what's being brought to you in the present moment, because you're sort of thinking that of what should be done, or you're fearful of what could happen. It robs you of the present moment, which is so precious.
Right. And you miss. And you talk about the present moment, it's interesting because, my wife and I, Susie and I, love music. And we've attended a number of concerts over the years. And we did a number of concerts this past year. And one of them was the Lumineers. The kids love this music, and I actually like it too. It's a very, it's a great band, and I'll just leave it at that. But the artist that was the lead singer said after the third song, he said, "You know what? I'm going to play one of our most popular songs. It's called Hey Ho," and he said, "I noticed everybody's using their phones and they're videotaping. I want you all to take your cameras out, your phones out, and I want you to videotape away. And then afterwards, I want you to put it away."
Oh, that's great.
And I got to tell you, these kids today are so fixated with not being present and in the moment. They want to record it, but they're missing it.
Yeah. It's a shame in a lot of ways, because it's taken us away from the magic of the moment. When I'm at a concert and I see everybody holding up their phones, nobody's enjoying the energy of what's happening, because they're so fixated on what they're capturing, and then they look at it later and they've missed what they're right in front of. And I think a lot of times in life, that's what happens with us when we're worried about the past or we're distracted, is that we're not absorbing the gift that's brought to us in the moment, which is one of the things that I realized in my, quote, awakening, was that life is always talking to us. It's always bringing us the information that we've asked for based on what we're looking to learn, understand, what we're looking to create. And the more we can absorb ourselves in the moment and just take a deep breath and settle into that place, the more we see what starts to enter it that we never even realized before. One of the analogies that I have, it's like listening to a song on the radio that you've heard for many, many years. And then all of a sudden you happen to be in a certain state of mind where you're present, and for the very first time, you hear the lyrics. And then you laugh because you've been singing it in your car the wrong way for 30 years. But once you realize what the lyrics are, then you start to hear what the original songwriter wrote in those lyrics, and you start to connect with it, and it starts to have a whole different level of meaning. So that's just one example of being present, where a new message can show up where you weren't present before to hear it. And all this, and this is after 30 or 20 or 10 years of listening to the song.
Right, and I think your point is so well taken. Too many people aren't present in the moment, and they are off somewhere else and trying to videotape something that you might or might not ever view again, and not being in the moment is something that people need to really embrace and understand. They need to understand to be present.
Yeah, if they're looking to enrich their lives and feel more fulfilled at the end of the day, that they had a meaningful day, that something meaningful came out of the day. It wasn't just put your head down, go, and then go to sleep and wake up and do it again. And it's almost like opening when you get present like this, it's really like opening a new treasure chest of it's just amazing what happens and what shows up. I mean, even this moment, has a lot of meaning in it.
Right.
If you're listening, it may be connected to a lot of questions that you've asked for years.
It's interesting. You talk about this, and so much of what you do is what this show is all about, and it's what we do at Cypress. And I've had the opportunity to talk about death and dying, obviously with Dr. Weissman, and I've had Rabbi Stephen Kahn here on the show, and I had Dr. Frank Chervinsky from Chaparral Church here on the show, and we talk a lot about death and dying. And it's interesting because nobody ever says that at the end of the day, that they felt like that they didn't have a chance to be a good person. You know what I mean? They a lot of times they say, I wish I had maybe embraced my faith more, or I wish I had spent more time with the people I love.
Right.
And time is something that is the only currency that we can't control.
Right.
People make money, they lose money, they make it back.
Right.
But time is something that we can't control, and I think us, and I say us as a community, as a country, as a state, maybe even a world, we don't do a real good job of making the most of it, and we need to do more.
Yeah, and that's a big part of what I've offered in the second writing, Time in a Bottle, is how to harness more of that, how to enrich your lives, how to be more in the present moment so you get more out of it on a daily basis, either from a creative standpoint or just a standpoint of well-being. And it goes through steps to teach you how to recognize when you are beating yourself up or you have negative thoughts that sort of rob you of time. And I've got an interesting take on death, which I'd like to share with you. And that is that, many people fear death, which is interesting because what fearing death does is it actually robs you of life, because it's taking away from you that present moment where you could be enjoying that moment, but instead you're projecting or you're fearful of what's going to happen in some future projected moment. And the other interesting thing about that is that in fearing death, we're fearing something that we've never experienced before in our lives.
Right.
The only truth that each of us know is life.
Right. No doubt.
So it's fascinating to me that people would fear something that they've never experienced or don't know about. It's what they know is life, and if they can understand that time really doesn't end, they get more out of their lives on a daily basis.
I think what you said is very profound, and for me and many of our listening audience, we're with college age kids, they're home. I mean, we cherish those moments, and we realize that they're growing older. With that, we're up against a break. It's halftime here at Health Futures. We'll be right back.
As we reach the bottom of the hour, we pause for a look at the world's news. Then we're back with Money Talk. We're Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
Special report, deadly Fort Lauderdale airport shooting. At least 5 people have died and 8 are injured after a shooting this afternoon in a baggage claim area at the airport in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And the gunman who was shot and wounded is in custody and believed to be the lone suspect. Correspondent Renee Marsh reports the airport is closed.
As investigators are here and try to figure out exactly what sparked this shooting, where now we are learning that multiple people are dead. The sidebar story to all of this is just that completely a standstill as far as operations. I mean, we know that the airport now has shut down operations. The FAA just blasted out a warning saying there will be delays because of this security event.
The probe into the airport shooting in Fort Lauderdale will focus on the gunman's motive, and officials say there is an active crime scene investigation involving Terminal 2. In November 2016, nearly 2.5 million travelers passed through Fort Lauderdale's airport. I'm Ann Cates.
Geico presents a voicemail from your friend, Lightning.
Hey, bud, Joe Pal Lightning. I was just hanging out in the old Cloudaroo here. I thought I'd give you a call. I hope you're still not sore about that time I deep-fried your big screen TV with that bolt. Yeah, I've been meaning to pay you back for that one, for sure. A little short on cash at the moment, but any day now. Yep. Well, anywho, talk later.
Lightning won't pay for the damage it causes. Luckily, the Geico Insurance Agency makes getting coverage a snap. Visit geico.com to see how affordable renter's insurance can be.
This just in, Wendy's is adding the quarter-pound double stack as an option in the 4 for $4 for a limited time. With so much beef, that's a deal so good it should not exist. In related news, because their wings are too small for their bodies, bumblebees should not be able to fly. Here to comment, bees.
Wait, we're not supposed to fly? Kinda like how a quarter pound of beef should not be in the 4 for $4.
Yet it is. That's over a quarter pound of fresh beef with 4 nuggets, fries, and a Coke, all for just $4. Any other bee puns?
No, we're good, honey.
At participating Wendy's for a limited time. Meal includes 4-piece nuggets, small fries, and drink. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada. Not valid in Alaska and Hawaii.
For a happier life, remember, it's your money. Be smart with it. And listening every day to Money Radio will cause your money IQ to go up, way up.
High returns on your investments? Who wouldn't want that? This is Sinclair No, with a strategy that could increase your overall return on your investment portfolio. It's called Decadian. The Decadian investment methodology encompasses a 10-year goal for financial freedom, plus something that's really missing today, straight talk, so you know you have a financial advisor you can trust. Great investment recommendations that far exceed what your institutional markets offer. All this wrapped with performance guarantees. Only those who know what they can do will guarantee what they can do. Decadian. Decadian.com. Decadian. That's Decadian.com. Call 844-332-2342. 844-332-2342. Here for you when you need it most. Decadian.
If you're listening to this message, then that's a good sign. In fact, we're always interested in good signs. Good signs that identify people in places. Good signs that communicate important information. With our business, we not only encourage good signs, we create them. We're Croy Sign Systems. Our signs identify, direct, and inform so you can navigate through life faster and easier. And that's a really good Croy sign. Call Croy Sign Systems today at 480-619-6070 or visit us online at kroysigns.com.
Where will you be when the dust settles?
How do you feel, sir?
Dust storms are a year-round threat in Arizona. If you get caught in a dust storm, pull completely off the roadway. Turn your lights off, set your parking brake, keep your seatbelt on, and wait it out. It won't be long. Where will you be when the dust settles? That's up to you. Do the smart thing, do the safe thing. Pull aside, stay alive. Visit az511.gov for road conditions before leaving your house. Sponsored by ADOT in partnership with the Arizona Broadcasters Association and this station.
Everyone looks forward to the comfort of a good night's sleep. Serta iComfort Hybrid Mattress is redesigned from the inside out to provide comfort that cradles, supports, and cools. Immerse yourself in Serta iComfort Hybrid. It's comfort reimagined.
I'm Bruce Vail with Your Money Now. President-elect Donald Trump took aim at Toyota today over the company's plan to build a new plant in Mexico. Again, Mr. Trump used Twitter to criticize the automaker's plan and threatened to impose a tariff on imported cars. His tweet came just hours after the head of the Japanese automaker signaled a willingness to work with the new administration. After the tweet, Toyota said its U.S. production and employment levels won't be reduced as a result of the new plant. For a quarter in which Samsung suffered its most embarrassing product recall in its history, the world's biggest smartphone maker has also forecast its strongest profit in more than 3 years. The South Korea tech giant said it expects its operating profit in the latest quarter to jump nearly 50%. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 91 points. The Nasdaq Composite is ahead 48, and the S&P 500 is up 12 points. That's your money now.
Thinking about life insurance? What if you could make one free phone call and learn your best price from nearly a dozen highly rated, price-competitive companies? Well, that's exactly what happens when you call SelectQuote Life. For example, George is 40. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $28 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino. And believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-244-6060. That's 1-800-244-6060. 1-800-244-6060. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price can vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. We're on our third segment, and you are listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and if you're just tuning in, I've got Howard Falco here in the studio. And he's an author, a spiritual leader, life coach, peak performance coach. Name of his company is 8 Wisdom and Total Mind Sports. And I've really spent a good part of this episode or this segment or show, if I would. I am fumbling for words here in the beginning of 2017, but paying tribute to a person that had a profound influence on my life and was a client of mine, Dr. Avery Weissman, who just passed away this week at the age of 103 years old. And I will tell you, I mean, this is a man that I shared with our listening audience here in the second segment that I got a chance to spend Fridays with for 6 weeks and learning a lot about his life. I called it Fridays with Avery. And one of the things I did learn, Howard, is that he actually saw Babe Ruth play.
Wow.
That's
cool.
He saw Babe Ruth play. And I asked him about some of the other old-timers like Ty Cobb and others. He didn't really care much for him, but he did remember seeing Babe Ruth play. That's something that not a lot of people can say today.
Wow.
We ended our second segment talking about death and dying, and I don't want the show to be all about death and dying, but it's incredible is that people need to figure out how to live their life. And one of the things that I have learned recently in the last couple years is that death isn't such a bad thing. It's a journey. It's part of our journey of life. And a lot of people and there's a great book that's out there called Being Mortal, and it was written by Atul Gawande. And here's a physician who he says in this book that doctors are trained to cure. They're not trained to really tell people, look, you know what, we've gone as far as we can. There's this thing called hospice and palliative care, and we can make you comfortable in the end. And he's been on a crusade, as have others, to really talk about that, to really help an individual in that journey. And, Howard, I get to experience various segments of the healthcare profession, and one of them being hospice. And the people that work in hospice are incredible individuals. They're angels. And I will tell you, if you work with a clinician in hospice that works with patients and assists them at the end of life and helping them through this journey, they liken it to almost those nurses and clinicians that are working in neonatal units and and places where people are being born. Just the excitement of helping somebody to that journey. And they're very special people.
Yep.
They really are.
Absolutely.
You know, I want to get back to talking about you, Howard, and some of the great work that you're doing. You know, for our listening audience, if you want to learn more about Howard Falco and the 8 wisdom of total-minded sports, you should go to howardfalco.com, and it's exactly as it sounds. Falco is Falco, or give him a call at 480-585-9750. So, you know, you have really devoted a great part of your life in helping people living happier, enriched, and more fulfilled lives. You know, what is the key to really living that happier, healthier, enriched life?
Yeah, well, my experience has brought me to the simple and profound understanding that the key to living a happier and more fulfilled life is being easier on ourselves and being more compassionate with ourselves, being more loving with ourselves. Because the more loving we are and the more accepting we are with our own selves, regardless of what our journey's been, because the very fundamental truth is we're all doing the best we can at each moment of our life. And that's the beauty about the next moment, is it gives us another opportunity to define, to declare, and to demonstrate who we choose to be. I am. That is the beautiful gift of life. But I think the key is to be easier on ourselves. I read a stat once that said something like almost 98% of the world's population lives from a negatively dominated mindset. And I think
98%. I just wanted to pause on that. Negative dominated life.
With thoughts of not good enough.
Doom,
not good enough, not smart enough, not good looking enough, not acceptable enough, that sort of attack our minds and cause us to make decisions that create what, as far as I'm concerned, many of the problems, whether it's in relationships, whether it's with addiction, whether it's so many different areas of our life. And so I think the more we can come to the truth of who we really are, which is, again, the fundamental basis of both books, and understand that we're each perfect right where we're at based on each of our own individual journey. We each have a unique DNA that was given to us by our parents, a unique upbringing and nurturing that was out of our control. And so we've done the best that we can to get to this moment. And if we can just pause and give ourselves the compassion and the understanding of that, it can lighten our load in life, and we can start to live more fully because we're coming from a more self-loving perspective, which allows us to share that with all the people in our world. And that's when the real magic happens, because when your energy changes going out, the energy of your experience back changes so profoundly, and it's really magical how it happens.
You know, it's interesting you say that, and you know, maybe I try to make things so simplistic, Howard, today. And, you know, working in an office environment, working with a lot of caring, compassionate people, you know, I always look for people, and I describe people of one of two types. You're either giving energy or you're sucking it. Mm-hmm. And, I want to be around people that are giving off energy, because they bring so much goodness and so much light to our lives. Those energy suckers destroy us.
Yeah, it's one way of saying it.
I know. I made it really simplistic. I'm sorry.
Well, there's people that have yet to find the beauty within themselves, and so they're needful of other people's energy, and so they end up taking it from us. But I think when we have a greater understanding that really we can't judge another unless we've walked in their shoes, we don't know what's brought them to that point, it can raise the level of compassion just enough to maybe help them on their journey of healing and change, rather than having immediate judgment and reaction and getting sort of sucked into that negative energy.
Right.
So understanding of the self creates understanding of others and allows us to be more patient with them.
No, and you're absolutely right. And I look at it at a work environment, a team environment, and especially with you doing stuff in coaching and helping athletes, you know, you want people all to be present. You want people to, be there in that space and all working together.
Yeah, at the high level athlete area, in that area, at the highest level in the world, they have to be compassionate with themselves, because if they're hard on themselves, it's going to limit them in their performance. And it may have worked to get them to that level, which I mean, these guys have, men and women have some of the most strongest and biggest beliefs in the world. But for them to move to the next level, they have to go through a process of self-awareness and see where their limits, even at that level, are to become even greater. So it all comes down to self-compassion, which is a reflection of self-awareness and self-understanding, which is a huge...
You know, it's interesting, and not that this individual is one that, has a lot of great quotes out there, but I'm going to quote somebody because I got a chance to meet him. And, Howard, you're a golfer.
Yeah.
And I am as well. And so many that are listening to our show are golfers that I had the chance to meet John Daly, and I actually got a chance to play a few holes with him. And then afterwards, he had a little powwow with the group that was there. And one of the questions that was asked was, what advice would you give to an amateur golfer to, a takeaway that would help them improve their game? And he said, my advice to the amateur golfer out there is when you've had a bad hole, that you forget about it. Because if you bring that to your next hole, it's gonna have an effect on how you play that golf hole.
Great advice.
So true. You got to let it go.
That's right. If you don't let go of the past, it becomes your future.
Right, exactly.
And so to clear the slate, and that's, forget about the last hole is a great mantra for life. Now, you have to be able to reflect on the experience to pull the information out that will help you to be better in the next moment. But the key in doing that is to do it without any regret, any guilt, or any shame, because those are poisons to the mind.
I love how you phrase that.
Yeah, because who you were is not who you are. You get the opportunity in this moment to decide who you want to be. Again, I think that's your greatest gift.
No, thank you for sharing that. And I guess we got a little boss taking us out here on a Friday afternoon. Thank you, James. Bruce Springsteen. When we come back, Howard, I want to talk to you a little bit about more how someone accepts the circumstances that affect their lives. If you're just tuning in or you're just hearing the end of our segment, you're listening to Health Futures Taking Stock in You. I have got an extraordinary guest here on the show today. I've got Howard Falco. He's with 8 Wisdom and Total Mind Sports. He's not only an author, he's a spiritual teacher, a life coach, and peak performance coach. We're up against the break. We will be right back.
Join certified financial planner Nancy Fleming this and every Wednesday afternoon as she joins me for Financial Review. Nancy and I discuss an array of topics from Social Security, taxes, to what types of obstacles you can and will face in retirement. So join Nancy every Wednesday afternoon at 4:35 for the Financial Review. Want more, Nancy? Be sure to tune in every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for My Smart Retirement, right here on Money Radio.
Hey, Michelle, what did Jamie's teachers have to say at PTA tonight?
Great, except for math. Jamie's math teacher says that she spaces out during class and that she failed her last algebra exam. That's a big problem.
We went through the same thing with Kevin. But thanks to Math Made Easy, he's made a complete turnaround.
I've heard about Math Made Easy. How does it work?
They've got these terrific video reviews in all levels of math, with dynamic teachers who engage students with easy-to-follow explanations. And with Math Made Easy, students control the pace of their learning. Math Made Easy even comes with a 30-day risk-free trial.
Wow, I have nothing to lose.
Right. Math Made Easy is a proven tool that will boost Jamie's grades and her confidence. It's an affordable alternative to pricey tutoring. Here, let me text the number to you. It's 1-866-598-MATH, or you can visit mathmadeeasy.com.
Math Made Easy.
1-866-598-MATH. 1-866-598-6284.
Hi, this is Geraldine, owner of Z Cleaners. You may have heard that Z Cleaners is Arizona's only certified couture care specialist. But what does that mean? It means we are required to complete specialized training, pass the toughest cleaning standards in our industry, and we are inspected at least 5 times a year by America's best cleaners. To care for your designer or bespoke clothing, choose the only certified dry cleaner in Arizona. Give us a call today at 602-CLEANER or visit us online at zcleaners.com. Z Cleaners, excellence always.
Beauty Rest Black is more than a mattress. It's a haven for deep restorative sleep. With Beauty Rest Black, sleep truly is the ultimate in luxury. Tonight, dream in black.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and we're on our fourth segment. It's hard to believe that we're winding it down. The first Friday show of the year of 2017, coming at you live from the Scottsdale Air Park at Money Radio Studios. And I have got Howard Falco in the studio, and if you need to reach Howard or you want to learn more about what he does, you want to go to howardfalco.com. or call out at 480-585-9750. He's written two extraordinary books, one book called I Am, the other one, Time in a Bottle. I can't help but think of that song, Time in a Bottle. But I will tell you, you have offered our listening audience some extraordinary advice, and really being present, not really, like that one statistic you gave, 98% of the time, people are thinking, or 98% of the people think negative thoughts.
More negative than positive.
Yeah, we need more positive energy out there. We really, and
that's what will change the world.
And I got to tell you, after coming off of 2016 and all the negativism that came out of the political campaign and some of the really bad stuff that has happened in our world, and we're just getting reports of a shooting that happened at Fort Lauderdale Airport where 5 people are dead, and we've got to change this. This is not good. And, a lot of times, watching the news is very depressing.
Yeah, it can be. But remember, news is designed to bring us sort of the bigger, tends to be more on the negative side of events into our awareness. What we don't see are the millions and millions of beautiful things that are happening every single day across the world. We don't hear that a lot. It's more skewed to the negative, so it can skew your idea of what the world is. So perspective is also a big part of living a full and enriched life, having not being deluded, but just having a good perspective on there's a lot of good people in this world, and there's a lot of beautiful things that happen each day.
And there are, and that's the one great thing I get out of doing the work that we do. Is like I said at the top of the show, is I get to meet the extraordinary people, and they have lived incredible lives. They've created these communities that we live in. And that is, like you had a life-changing event. And for me, for our listening audience, it was being a caregiver for my mom. I mean, that was a life-changing event. I'd never planned on doing that.
Wow.
No one planned at 48 years old she was going to have a massive coronary and 4 heart attacks to follow, 18 days in a drug-induced coma, 30 days in ICU, and came out a very different person. But at the same time, she got to live almost 18 years, got to see her three sons get married, got to see 9 grandchildren. So that was a nice, nice thing that did happen as a result. But what, I want to talk a little bit more about you and what you're doing to help people. And one of the things that I'm curious on is how do you help one to accept life circumstances? Because so many things happen to people, and we can take it so many different ways.
Yeah. I think it boils down to intention. So what I do is I ask the individual, what is your intention? Is it to live an unhappy life or to live a happy life? And obviously most people, or almost all people, say, I want to live a happy life. So the next question then is, what benefit is it to belabor a negative event or a negative circumstance? There isn't a benefit as it relates to happiness. It only prolongs the time of unhappiness. So the next step is a powerful one, which is acceptance, full and total acceptance of what the truth is in the moment. And when someone can do that for the first time, they can get out of being stuck in the past and wishing it was different, and finally be in the present where they totally accept the circumstances, and then they're finally able to act and create from that moment to change it. But until you come to acceptance, you can't change anything. You're stuck. So it's a very important part of the process of life. Now, that doesn't mean that you condone whatever that circumstance is, whether if it's in your relationship or you have someone who's going to pass in your family or something in business. It doesn't mean you condone what's happened, but it allows you to get to a place of peace and clarity in your mind so you can see what the next steps are towards moving forward. So that's a big part of it.
Oh, it's totally a big part of it. And really accepting where you're at in life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and we need to be able to, take that and be able to process that.
What's the alternative? The alternative is misery because you're in resistance. And when you're in resistance to the truth, that's a force that creates a counterforce of resistance back to you. The universe is a very elegant place, and it's designed to bring us the awareness that helps us on our journey. It's really a very exact science. And so resistance creates time, is what I say in Time in a Bottle. So to collapse time, to speed up the process of getting to where you want to go, acceptance is the doorway.
I love it. Absolutely love it. And it really, bodes well to this next question I'm going to ask you, and that is, what is the best advice you can give someone looking to be more accepting of that time?
Well, again, it relates to intention. So if their intention is to live a more happy, fulfilled, enriched life and to step into that version of themselves where they're tired of coming from a negative mindset, then that is the journey. That's the connecting point, is to come to a place of acceptance. Again, because the alternative puts them back in the place they've been in for years.
Right.
But acceptance, there's a big release upon that. And when you realize that your existence really isn't in doubt when you accept something, it's actually going to help you to get to the next stage in your life. It becomes a very exciting journey, and you're able to move forward with much more clarity, much more energy, because you've finally come to that moment where
clarity,
you take control of your life.
Clarity, energy, and purpose.
Right, exactly.
And living a purposeful life. I mean, I think that's what all of us want to do. Howard, we're wrapping up our show here. We just got maybe about a minute. I want to leave our listening audience with maybe some thoughts that you would like to share as we close out our show here today. And I haven't covered half the things I want to cover with you, so I definitely want to bring you back. But what would you, what kind of lasting impression you want to leave with our listening audience?
Again, we've talked about time and death and dying, and I think the most important thing is to remember the gift that this moment offers you. Even in this information coming through our conversation here today, there's no accident that this happened to whoever's hearing this. And I think that provides a lot of hope that this is a self-fulfilling, self-supportive universe. And to know that you always have that opportunity to decide, declare, and to demonstrate who you choose to be in this moment. And that's what can change your life in an instant.
Wow. I mean, I can embrace and I can get that. But, I mean, you're right. I mean, there are things that happen that we think they're by chance, but they're purposeful. And that happened for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason.
I talked about Dr. Avery Weissman. I lost a neighbor and a friend. I'm going to a celebration of life today for Steve Olson. What a wonderful guy, 61 years young. One lesson I learned from him is don't waste a day. Howard Falco, thank you.
My honor.
Make it a great day. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress HomeCare Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit CypressHomeCare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
It's not the number of bedrooms, but how many slumber parties. It's not the size of the backyard, but how big the memories. It's not your square footage. It's your circle. At Alaris, we're not about selling you a mortgage for a house. We're here to help you create a home. See how Alaris does banking, mortgage, retirement, and wealth management differently at Alaris.com. Or stop by and talk with us today.
Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
KFNN Mesa Phoenix and K257C Phoenix. If you're on the go, Money Radio can go with you on your smart device. Download the free Money Radio app and listen from anywhere.
Right now, the Dow is up 79 points at 19,978. S&P up 10 at 2279. And the NASDAQ is up 39 at 5527.
When people want to talk about money, this is the place they come to. And there's more on the way after this break for the latest news. And we begin now.